Good morning, students. Today we will start with the next lecture, that is third normal form. I hope you have already seen first normal form and second normal form video. Then you will be able to understand this third normal form very clearly. Okay. In our previous video, we have seen the second normal form. We normalize our score table into a second normal form. If you have seen the video for the second normal form, you will be able to understand this video very clearly because we are going to continue with the same example that we have used in our second normal form. Okay, there we have normalized the score table. Okay, there were three tables, score table, student table and subject table, and we achieved the second normal form on the score table. Next, I will quickly revise. We had three tables: the student table, the score table and the subject table. The teacher name was creating the partial dependency. Partial dependency means in a primary key, when there is two column forming a primary key, the each and every column should be depend on the primary key, but the teacher name was only dependent on the subject number. That is called partial dependency. Now to achieve second normal form, that means we need to remove the partial dependency. We move this teacher's name column into the subject table. Okay, and we achieve the second normal form. Now we will continue the same example, and with this our score table was normalized to second normal form. Okay. Now suppose we need to save more information to our score table. Now we are going to add some additional information in the score table. Now let's check what it is. We need to save the exam name and total marks in the score table. Okay, we are going to add two more columns, that is the exam name and total marks in the score table. Now let's add these columns to our score table. Then how our table will look like. See, this is the updated score table. Here we have score ID, roll number, subject number. Now we have added two columns, that is exam name and total marks. Okay, next. Now we'll quickly discuss rules for third normal form and then we'll see the example. Now for table to be in a third normal form, it should be in a second normal form. There should not be any transitive dependency. Now see students, in second normal form there was partial dependency. Now here it is a transitive dependency. Kindly note that the partial dependency and transitive dependency are different. Now we will discuss what do we mean by transitive dependency. Okay, what is transitive dependency? See here students, here we have this score table. Here again the primary key is roll number and subject number. Okay, these two columns together form a primary key. Hence it is called a composite key. Why composite key? Because it is made up of two columns. Hence it is called a composite key. Then exam name and total marks. These are the new columns we have added today. Here we can see that the new column exam name depends on the primary key, that is roll number and subject number. For example, there may be a practical exam for particular subject, let's say Java, but not for maths. Okay. Or maybe for some subject there is a project, but not for all. Means sometimes we have subjects where practical and theory both are added, but sometimes there is subject where only theory exams are there, maybe internal exams are there, but not a practical exam. Next. Means here we can say that the exam depends on the subject and student both. Okay, means which roll number is taking this subject, based on that the exam name is decided. So this exam column is dependent on the subject and student both. Exam name depends on roll number and subject number, that is subject and the student which is obtaining that subject. Now we will discuss about the total marks. We have added two new columns, exam name and total marks, out of which we have seen that exam is depend on roll number and subject number, and both are together forming a primary key. Means this new column exam name is dependent on the primary key. Means there is no partial dependency over here. Now we will check the new column next, second new column, that is total marks. We need to check whether it is dependent on primary key. And what is the primary key? Roll number and subject number in our example. Here total marks are dependent on the exam name. Now let's check how. In some colleges, for example, internal exams are of 20 marks, main exams are of 80 marks, sometimes practical exams, if applicable, they are of 50 marks, and so on. We can say that the total marks are changing with exam name. Means suppose if I add exam name as internal exam, the marks will be given out of 20. If I add exam name as main exam, then total marks will be given out of 80 marks. Practical exams are of 50 marks. So that means what? The marks are changing with exam name. Okay. So here in our example, roll number and subject number together forming a primary key, and all other column like score ID, exam name, they are dependent on this primary key, but not total marks. Means except total marks, all the columns are dependent on primary key. Means what? This total mark should be also dependent on this primary key, that is roll number and subject number together. But you can observe here this total marks is not dependent on this, rather it is dependent on exam name. As I change the exam name, total marks will be changed. So total marks is not dependent on primary key, but depend on some non-prime attribute, that is exam name. Means what? Exam name is not a primary key, even it is not a part of primary key. That is called a non-prime attribute, and your total marks column is dependent on this non-prime attribute. Non-prime attribute means the column which is not a primary key or not a part of primary column. This is called transitive dependency. Means what? Transitive dependency is nothing but any of the attribute in a table is depend on some other attribute or column which is not a primary key or not a part of primary key. So this is a transitive dependency. Okay. Means here roll number and subject name are forming primary key, but total marks are dependent on exam name which is not a primary key. So we need to remove this transitive dependency. Okay. To remove this transitive dependency, we will create a new table, that is a exam table, and move this column exam name and total marks to the exam table. Means these two column we have to remove from this score table, and we have to create a new table. Then only this transitive dependency from this table will be removed. Okay. Now, as I said, we had three tables: student table, score table, and subject table. Now to achieve third normal form, we have created one more table, that is exam table, which contains exam name and total marks. Means out of, for example, it is a main exam, then out of 80. If it is a practical, then out of 50, and so on. So initially we had three tables, and now we have created the exam table, and with this here you can observe we have achieved the our third normal form. This is how we have achieved the third normal form. I hope you have understood the third normal form. We did first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. To understand the third normal form, first you need to watch the video for first and second normal form. And this is the example that we have taken in second normal form also. And we have continued that example to achieve third normal form as well. So go through all these videos. In our next lecture, we are going to see what is Boyce Codd normal form. Okay. Thank you, students.